Welcome back to Wild Mind, Rooted Heart. Today, we're just going to dive in. There is this space in healing that I don't think we talk about enough. It's the space after you've done a lot of the healing. Not that healing is ever completely finished. I don't know if we ever arrive at some magical mountaintop when we suddenly have no triggers, no fears, no wounds, and we just float through life wearing linen while our nervous systems play harps. Unfortunately, rude, but that's not how it works. But there can come a point where you've done enough healing that you're no longer just trying to survive yourself. You've built a foundation. You know yourself better. You've learned some boundaries. You've become more aware of your patterns. You've learned how to recognize when your nervous system is activated. You've learned that not every emotion needs to become an emergency. You've started separating your voice from the voices of the people that hurt you. You've started realizing that some of the things you believed about yourself were never actually true. And then one day you look around and think, wait, what do I want my actual life to look like? And somehow that question can be more overwhelming than the healing itself. Because when you've spent such a large part of your life surviving, there often wasn't much room to think about what you wanted. You were busy responding, adapting, taking care of other people, trying not to upset anyone, trying to be accepted, trying to stay safe, trying to keep the peace. And now there's space. And space can be beautiful, and space can also be fucking terrifying. Because suddenly you can see how much is possible. There are places you could go, people you could meet, things you could create, love you could experience, careers you could try, communities you could build, versions of yourself you haven't even met yet. And instead of that feeling purely exciting, sometimes it feels like standing in the middle of an enormous forest without a map. And for some of us, that fear is complicated by something else. We don't have the guidance we were supposed to have. Maybe we don't have parents we can call and say, I don't know what the hell I'm doing right now. Can you help me think this through? Maybe we don't have family that feels safe enough to lean on. Or maybe you're still learning who you can lean on or that you can. But maybe we don't have people who taught us to make big decisions, to trust ourselves, explore our options, or build a life around what we actually want. And that shit is scary. Because there are moments where you realize, I'm figuring this out in real time. I'm becoming the person I needed while simultaneously trying to become the person I want to be. And there's no instruction manual, no parent at the kitchen table helping you sort through your options, no family member saying, here's what I think, but I trust you to figure it out. Sometimes there's just you, your healing, your intuition, your fears, your dreams, and a terrifying amount of freaking possibilities. Honestly, that takes an immense amount of strength. Because people often celebrate independence without talking about how painful it can be to become independent because you had no other choice. There's a difference between, I know I can do this on my own, and I wish I didn't always have to. And I think both can be true. You can be incredibly strong and still wish you had someone to lean on. You can be proud of the life you're building and still feel terrified that you're building it without a blueprint. You can trust yourself and still want someone to say, you're doing okay. You're not alone in this. For a long time, I thought the goal was just to become stable, to build a solid relationship with myself, to regulate my nervous system, to understand my trauma, to learn my boundaries, to feel safe alone. And now that I've built more of that foundation, I realize something in a deeper way. A foundation isn't the house. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've built this foundation within myself, not perfectly, not without a couple cracks, not without occasionally having to call in some emotional contractors to inspect the damage, but it is there. I trust myself more. I know myself more. I understand what hurts me. I understand what matters to me. I know that I deserve to take up space. And now I'm standing here looking at the foundation going, okay, so what are we building? What kind of life do I actually want? Who do I want beside me? What kind of work do I want to do? What spaces allow me to expand instead of shrink? What people can actually see me? What relationships feel safe enough for me to bring my whole self into them? And that's where it gets overwhelming. Because when you realize there are so many possibilities, you can also realize how many decisions are in front of you. And if you spent your life afraid of making the wrong choice, freedom can sometimes feel like pressure. And maybe that's the most honest thing I can say right now. I don't know what I'm doing. Not in the hopeless, my life is falling apart kind of way, but more in the holy shit, I actually have the opportunity to build a life now. And I have no idea what it's supposed to look like kind of way. I'm trying to build a life I don't want to escape from. And I think that's the simplest way that I can explain it. I don't want a life where I'm constantly waiting for Friday. I don't want relationships where I'm constantly bracing for abandonment, rejection, criticism, or emotional punishment. I don't want to keep making myself small to fit in spaces that were never designed to hold me. I don't want to keep choosing people who only love the parts of me that are convenient. I want a life filled with people I love, people who love me, people who see me. I want to be in places and spaces that recognize me, spaces that don't make me feel like I'm too much because I have big emotions sometimes. People who can understand that my fear isn't always a reflection of what they're doing wrong. People who can meet me with curiosity instead of immediately becoming defensive. People who understand that sometimes loving someone with a trauma history means understanding that the nervous system occasionally shows up to a conversation like an unpaid intern with no training and a megaphone. Luckily, I've worked to be able to notice when that happens and practicing the art of pausing. Learning to pause will be your best friend if you have a heightened nervous system. But I want people who can see the fear underneath my questions. I want relationships where I don't have to hide my humanity to be loved. And I want to be able to offer that to other people too. Because I love deeply. I love with my whole being when I do. And I think that's part of why opening myself up is so scary. When you love deeply, opening yourself up can feel dangerous. Because you're not just letting someone into your life, you're letting them into your heart, your routines, your thoughts, your fears, your future. You're allowing yourself to become attached, to care, to need, to hope. And if you've been hurt before, hope can feel like a dangerous thing because hope means you have something to lose. And maybe that's part of the transition I'm learning about. Healing isn't always about becoming someone who never gets scared. Maybe sometimes healing is about becoming someone who can say, I am scared, but I'm still willing to grow. I am scared, but I don't want fear to be the architect of my entire life anymore. I am scared, but I am willing to let people show me who they are instead of deciding for them that they will hurt me. I am scared, but I am learning that I can survive disappointment. I am scared, but I don't want to avoid love just because Love comes with vulnerability. I am scared, but I am learning that being open is not the same thing as being unprotected. That one right there, because I think for a lot of us, especially people who've been hurt, we believe there are only two choices: keep everyone out or completely hand someone access to every room inside us. But there's another option. You can open the door slowly. You can let people earn access. You can observe. You can ask questions. You can communicate. You can have boundaries. You can trust yourself while you're learning to trust someone else. You can love someone and still remain connected to yourself. You can build a relationship without abandoning your own foundation. And maybe that's part of what I'm learning right now. I think for a long time, I was looking for someone else to become my foundation. Someone to make me feel safe, make me feel worthy. Someone to tell me who I was, what to do next. Someone to finally fill in all the spaces where I felt unsupported. But I don't think that's what I'm looking for anymore. I want to build with people, not build myself on top of them. I want to love someone without losing myself. I want friendships where we can grow together. I want community. I want people who challenge me without trying to control me. I want spaces that recognize me without requiring me to perform. I want to be loved without having to become smaller first. And I want to give myself permission to outgrow anything that cannot meet me where I am becoming. Because I am becoming. And maybe that's the uncomfortable part. I'm not who I was, but I'm not fully sure who I'm becoming yet. I'm in between. And let me tell you, the in between is weird as hell. It is like the Wild West. It feels like the Wild West, but with a little more optimism. But I think the transformation is often romanticized. We love the butterfly. Nobody wants to talk about whatever the hell is happening inside the chrysalis. And maybe this is the chrysalis part, or the part where you're just cracked from the egg and you're like trying to figure out how to fly and walk and land again. It's a form of a rebirth. It's the part where you can no longer go back to who you were, but you haven't completely become who you're going to be. Your old life doesn't fit the same way. Your old patterns don't comfort you the way they once did. Your old relationships may feel different. Your old dreams might not be your dreams anymore. And yet, the new life isn't fully here yet. So you're standing in this strange space between what was and what could be. And you have to learn how to tolerate uncertainty without running back to what was familiar. That's hard. Sometimes the old version of your life calls to you not because it was better, but because it was known. And the unknown can feel terrifying even when it is full of possibility. So if you're in that space too, I want to remind you, you don't need to have your entire life figured out. You're allowed to be in the middle of becoming. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to try something and discover it isn't for you. You're allowed to choose something new. You're allowed to build. You're allowed to have no idea what you're doing and still trust that you're learning. And maybe strength isn't always having the answer. Maybe strength is standing at the edge of the unknown and saying, I don't know what's next, but I'm willing to find out. Maybe strength is allowing yourself to want more. More love, more peace, more connection, more creativity, more adventure, more safety, more community, more life. Especially when you grew up learning that wanting too much was dangerous or selfish. Maybe strength is letting yourself be seen. Maybe strength is asking for help. Maybe strength is admitting you're overwhelmed. Maybe strength is allowing someone to love you without immediately searching for the catch. Maybe strength is learning how to hold your own hand while also allowing someone else to sit beside you. And maybe also hold your hand. And maybe the greatest strength is realizing I may not have been given the guidance I deserved, but I am still allowed to create the life I need. So, no, I don't have it all figured out. I don't know exactly where I'll be. I don't know exactly who will be beside me. I don't know what my life will look like in a year, 5 years, or 10 years. And honestly, I don't think I'm supposed to know everything yet. I think right now my job is to stay connected to myself, to keep building, to remain exploring curiosity, to keep asking better questions, to notice what expands me and what makes me shrink, to pay attention to the people and places that feel like home, to keep choosing relationships where I can be seen, and to keep letting go of spaces where I have to disappear. To be willing to open my heart, to love deeply without abandoning myself, to allow myself to be afraid and still move towards the things that matter to me. Because I'm not trying to create a perfect life. I'm trying to create a life that feels like mine, a life I don't constantly need to escape from, a life with people I love and who love me, a life where I am seen, a life where I can take up space, a life where I can have big feelings without being made to feel like I am fundamentally too much, a life where I can bring my whole heart. And maybe I don't have a map. Maybe I'm making it as I go. And maybe that's terrifying. But maybe that's also the point. Because for the first time, I'm not following a path someone else chose for me. I'm learning how to choose. And if you've spent most of your life surviving, choosing can feel terrifying. But it can also be freedom. And right now, I'm trying to learn the difference between fear and a warning. I'm trying to learn that uncertainty isn't always danger. I'm trying to learn that I don't have to know the whole path before I take the next step. And maybe you don't either. Maybe you just need to know the next step, and then the next, and then the next. One decision, one connection, one leap, one breath at a time. And you're not behind because you're still figuring it out. You're not failing because you don't have a blueprint. You're not weak because you wish you had guidance. And you are not lost just because you are somewhere you've never been before. Sometimes you're not lost, you're just in new territory. And that is terrifying. But look at you. You made it through the wilderness. You built yourself a foundation. And now you get to decide what kind of life you want to build on top of it. And here's our reflection questions for this week. If I truly believed I was worthy of a life I didn't want to escape from, what would I start allowing myself to want? Where in my life am I still making myself smaller out of fear, familiarity, or the belief that I have to earn my place? What is one small step I can take toward the life I'm building, even if I can't see my entire path yet? Maybe healing wasn't meant to give you all the answers. Maybe it was meant to give you enough safety within yourself to finally start asking the questions. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If you're enjoying these conversations, don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Be sure to share this episode with someone else who maybe is in their own process of becoming. And let's continue to grow this community and make the world a better place, one ray of light of hope at a time. Take what resonated and let what didn't settle. Things take time to grow when they're meant to. Until next time, keep that mind wild and that heart open and rooted. I'll see you for the next one.